I do. I'll tell the people that, will I? We were talking about the National Gallery and also the National Museum, and I was saying I don't do the National Museum, I do the National Gallery, but National Museum, they've got these polystyrene or plastic replicas of the great crosses of Ireland, and you hit them and they go boom, boom. It's dreadful.
Yeah, they have that, but they have the real gold artifacts. And
Yeah, they have.
They have all
Yes,
the things
yes.
that we recognise from the history books.
Funny enough, let me introduce you first of all, for goodness sake. We have Siobhan and Vanessa. We have Siobhan Power, who's a geologist, and we have Vanessa Ryan, who's an archaeologist in our part of the world, and we're blessed to have you. But it was actually you would know the fellow or one of you would know the great archaeologist of Ireland, Ned Kelly.
Oh, yes,
I was with
yes,
Ned
yes,
when we did the Linducal find.
Right.
Yes.
And then I went down and saw him processing all the stuff in the laboratories there.
Yes.
Now that's your end of things, isn't it?
It is,
You're
yes.
the archaeologist.
Yes, I actually worked on the exhibition in the museum in Dundalk about Linducal afterwards, so that was great.
It's fantastic.
It was fantastic. Yeah, it was.
Tell the people about Linducal.
Well, it's a site in Annigassan, and it had been long locally reputed that it was the site of a Viking settlement, but the settlement had never been found.
Yeah.
And a number of years ago, funding was secured to do some test excavations at the site, and when they were conducted, they found that it was a really extensive, really
Everybody
important.
went, wow.
Yes, yes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And all sorts of. Were you on the dig itself?
No, I just worked on the exhibition afterwards in the museum. So, but it was fantastic.
Why would the Vikings have come to that part of the world, do you think?
Well,
They settled there.
They moved. They had this move over to Ireland. They arrived in 795 in Dublin. That was the first recorded attack in the annals. And we know that they settled in Dublin and at Wexford and Waterford. And we know that they settled in this part of the country as well. We know that they were in Carlingford Lough, for example. We just don't know where exactly.
But up to this point, we don't have evidence, archaeological evidence that they settled in Carlingford Lough.
No, we don't. What we do have are two annal entries, one about the year 851 AD and then a second in the year 921 AD.
Saying what specifically?
Well, the first one says that there were two bands of Vikings, the dark-haired foreigners and the fair-haired foreigners, and that they had a great battle for the control of Carlingford Lough.
Who were the dark-haired ones?
They were
the Vikings were the blondes.
Yes, well, they reckon that they were just from two different parts of Scandinavia, and that they were rivals, and that they fought for control of the loch. And then in the year 921 AD, again, Carlingford Lough is referred to. So we think that for that period of time, there must have been a settlement. Yeah, there must have been a settlement.
That's the archaeology. The geology, dare I say the geology is the senior service.
The senior service.
As in, they talk about radio and television. Radio is the senior service. But I mean, the archaeologist footers around and gets the stuff. Yeah, gardening. I'm glad you said that.
Oh no, geographers are the gardeners.
Yeah. But your geology, you're
stuff.
dealing with the stuff that if it wasn't there would be nothing of anything.
There'd be nothing of anything. It's what the earth is made of. Yeah. It's what this place is made of. Yes, all our rocks are millions of years old, but the landscape was formed from the rocks, and then of course the people came and they reacted to the landscape. So they lived in valleys, or of course everybody needed to live near a fresh water source.
Of course.
So when you come to a place, water is terribly important. So you live near a water source.
Did you see that thing talking about water sources at the weekend? That Galway and Galway Bay has a submarine under the seabed freshwater river, huge freshwater river, maybe 30 miles long.
I didn't see that.
That was in the paper at the weekend, or maybe I dreamt it. I don't know, but I don't think I did. I saw. I think it was the Sunday Times had it.
Right.
Or maybe.
Well, that must be to do with there's water going from the land from Ireland.
That it finds a way out and
it doesn't mix because water mixes, and it's to do with density and everything. So there'd be possibly, for some reason, that it's not mixing with the salt water and it's staying as marine, a fresh water.
Is it true, Siobhan, that the granite of this part of the world is significantly different to the granite, say, down in Wicklow? And what is the difference?
Yes and no. The Newry granite, which is the very old granite, that is exposed from South Armagh all the way to Slieve Croob.
Stuff that we built the cathedral with.
Exactly,
in Newry.
yeah. That's similar age to the Galway granite, the Leinster granite, the Donegal granites, and the granites in Scotland. And it would have similarities, compositional similarities with that. The Mourne granite, which is the baby granite, the new granite. So if the Newry granite is 415 million years old, the Newry granite is only about 57 million years old, so it's only a baby granite. And the granite type rocks that are in Cooley and Gullion, they're all young as well. They're 60.
What would I have been seeing on my walking trips into the Mournes? I would come across stone.
Yes.
And I would see the stone broken down, and not into big clumps, but into kind of the hard rock that I thought was granite was turning into a kind of gravel.
Yes.
What is that?
It is the granite disintegrating.
Really?
Yeah, that's how
granite disintegrates.
Granite disintegrates beautifully. So granite is made of a mixture of minerals, quartz being very hard, feldspar being not very hard at all.
Yeah.
But it's like a mix, a cake mix.
And it's the victim of the weakest link.
Kind of, yes, it is, yeah. So if all the feldspars break down, then what you were probably seeing is the quartz. The quartz. What's left, and it disintegrates. Yeah, you see it great in the back to the Vikings. You see it great in the Arctic. Yeah. Because people don't move it. It's just left there. You don't see it quite so much here. Because people are always moving things around.
So I'm told, really I was told, and I think I was told wrongly. You see, I got my headstone, and it was made in Irish limestone.
Your own one?
Oh, yes.
Yes, good.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, I got it as a gift.
Good to be prepared.
As a gift?
A gift, which is a lovely gift.
Yeah, it was a lovely
amazing
gift.
A great gift. No, I'd gone to the story of it is I'd gone to do a nationwide on Michael Hoy up in Fermanagh, who makes headstones in the traditional way. Yeah. And I'd said to him, look, Michael, would you pick up maybe something the size of the newspaper and an old bit of stone and scratch my name. It'll give me a cutaway shot in the piece.
Yeah.
But sure, didn't I go up and I heard him knocking, blah, blah, blah. And I looked through the door. He's in the workshop and I went around. He has this thing, 5 feet 6, half a ton of Irish limestone with a map of Africa carved, because I do work in Africa, carved out in the top of it, and Rowan hand, right the whole way across, 1944, dash, just sitting there. But you know what he did? He put it in at 2000 and left the rest to be put in. So you must reckon I'm going to go before the change of the year, the 2001, but we'll see what happens. But I was told that it was the wrong stone, that limestone, it should have been granite. Jerry Fay, the architect, told me that. But no.
It should have been
granite as opposed to limestone.
For long lasting.
Aye.
Well, it does take a long time for it to disintegrate. Yeah, limestone will get spoiled eventually. Slate is the very best headstone.
As indeed, so will I.
Slate is probably the very, very best headstone.
Really?
Yes. If you go to any of the really old graveyards, like Kilbrony, it's the ones that are in slate that have
lasted. And the inscription on them, how are we talking about headstones?
I don't know.
From granite through the headstones. But the slate, actually, the inscriptions are chiselled. Yes. And they're like V's. They're like a sharp enchiselment.
And it stays.
That's a new word, by the way, enchiselment.
It stays forever, whereas ours stays much, much longer than the
Nothing
others,
is forever. I never thought granite went, but now you
it does eventually. It takes a long time, but it does eventually. Yeah. But gravestones, headstones, are a great way for people to learn geology or notice different rock types. Yeah. Well, it's where people are mostly exposed to different rock types. Yes. Same as shop fronts. Yeah. We did a fun walk in Dundalk the week before last, Vanessa and I. Yes. The urban geology and archaeology. And we're going to do one in Newry at the end of.
What are you looking for in the urban setting?
The urban setting, it's shop fronts are made of rock usually.
Shop fronts?
Yeah.
Rock?
Yeah.
I thought they were made of plastic and wood and stuff.
More than
really,
you think.
The old
more
ones
than you think would be made. Would be made of very nice rock. And of course, there are ruins of archaeological sites in towns.
There are, yes. Not so many in Dundalk.
But you know what struck me about the archaeological makeup of our terrain? I once lived in a stable, it was at a castle, and when I the ash from my fire, I would bring it out and I'd put it into an ash pit. And I would bring out maybe stuff I wanted to get rid of, bones of animals that I had eaten.
Yes.
Cooked first, of course. And I'd put those in. And the bones were there. Sure, I was thinking afterwards, isn't this exactly what they did in bygone days of archaeological importance?
Oh, it is, yes. Even as far back as 9,000 years ago.
So none of us is that different.
No, we're just exactly the same.
Doing exactly the same things over and over again.
Yes.
Cleaning out the grate.
Yes.
It's amazing. And I saw too, I saw the woman in Africa, the two women inside, look through the door of the mud hut, and the two ladies are kneeling down with babes on their backs. And there's a concave stone, a reservoir stone in front of them, and they've got a grinding stone in their hand, and the grain goes in, and they're rocking back and forward, getting the meal to make the bread and the stew and the whatever, Yes. So, we're hugely linked, and that fascinates me. That whether it's Africa or Ireland, whether it's today or in the time of the Vikings, none of us is that different, which is a great thought.
No,
well, we all need to do the same things. We all need to eat, and we all need to get water, and
we
need to find shelter and keep warm, and then get rid of our waste.
Yes, of course.
And that's all we ever do, really.
Yes.
We're sort of like machines, almost, survival machines, which is the good thing. So, when are you coming to Newry with the geological and archaeological tour?
It's the last Friday in May.
30th.
Yeah.
And we'll leave from Bagnall's Castle at 2:30. We'll gather there and we'll set off.
And where are you? Give us a feeling of where you're going on it. Have you got that refined
quite got
yet?
there yet.
Well, I know, I love your
style. Of course, we'll look at Bagnall's Castle.
Yes,
that'll take a while in itself.
Yes.
The different churches are always good. And then it's just the rock that's in the shop fronts. Yeah. As we walk along.
I'm going to go down the town after this with more. Do you know something? The footpaths are so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once upon I was born in number 5 Mary Street in Newry, and outside, a couple of doors down, was the McCabe's Furnishing Emporium. It was down the yard, and in the front of the Mary Street pathway, there were cobblestones, entrance to the yard. Didn't he do a lovely thing? When he moved from Mary Street 30 years ago to out the Belfast Road, he took the cobblestones with him. And those cobblestones, you now walk over them going down into his premises in the Belfast Road. Yes. So there's a great continuum there in a sense. Yes. Yeah. And the thing about shop fronts, I just can't get over that. I will be looking at shops differently from this moment on. And I'm going to ring you and tell you if I don't find them.
Okay.
Because I don't believe it. I really do not believe it. I think this is a yarn.
In Dundalk, we just did Clanbrassil Street.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised the amount of different rocks. One shop had garnets in the front of it. And they didn't realise it. So all the different rock types. The people who worked inside the shops thought we were a strange band of people.
I said they did.
Stop and look at what was there. What are you looking at? I never knew that was there.
Yeah. Carlingford Lough, the myth is that it was created by the Ice Age.
Well,
am I right?
Yes.
And no.
I suppose the first.
I knew she was going to say that. How do you work with this woman?
Well, she's exactly the same. It takes two, first of all, yes, definitely. But what I would say is we're still in an ice age. Yeah. So we don't call it an ice age because the Earth is still in an ice age. While there's ice at the poles, we're still in an ice age. Yeah. So you can't say the last ice age because we're still in it.
Okay.
So that's the only bit I'd pick at. So we'd say last glaciation. So the last time Ireland was covered in ice. But yes, it was definitely formed. So it's more than a myth. It was definitely formed
by the glaciers.
By the ice, yeah.
Really?
The glacier scooped out.
Yeah.
But they did all our valleys.
What was the scooping? Well, that's a huge valley.
It is, but the
Are
ice...
we saying that the glacier...
Yes, would have...
Went right across the valley?
It did. It would have.
Sweet God.
But the whole place was covered in about a kilometre thickness of ice, so there was an awful lot of ice.
Yeah.
At the maximum, there was a lot of ice.
Mind you, they can still be cold enough down that part of the world.
So it's because the valley it's soft rock, softer than the granites that are...
Right. I was covering a story years ago, well, it's now 20 years ago. There were dredging the channel from the lighthouse into Warren Point port. And we would always have known when we were sailing that going out over the bar, that there was dreadfully turbulent seas at the bar, and you don't approach it when the wind is against the tide and all of that. But this was major dredging for the port. It was done by the Dutch company Hom, and there was the Hom dredger and then the hopper dredger that they put the stuff into, the spoil into, took it out to sea, opened the bottom, and ditched the stuff far out at sea. But the thing was, as I recall, they needed a different kind of vessel to deal with the entrance to the loch. And they dredged with huge iron nets to pick up massive boulders that they took up. And the philosophy expounded then by the diving people or the dredging people was that these boulders, bigger than anything we had seen, except perhaps up at the Clockmore Stone, that these had been deposited there by the moving glacier.
Yes.
Is that a possibility?
It's more than a possibility. It's what
truth.
happened. Yeah. So the ice, when the ice was all gone, that would have been just a valley, a dry valley, probably. Yeah, a dry valley, and that would be what we'd call a terminal moraine, the final moraine. So as the ice has pushed all the stuff and it banks up in front of it, banks up in front of the glacier.
Yeah.
And then as the ice retreats or melts away, it's left there.
That's true.
The fact that it's now a loch or that's now known as Sun is because of sea level change since. But yes, it would have been just a normal glaciated valley with a terminal moraine.
I understand. Your head's full of most wonderful things. It's incredible. Like I know what you do.
Yes.
I can go the trial with you and help you.
Well,
and do what you tell me to do. You know. But I mean,
but
this
she
stuff
has the understanding of what when you
she
go
only
with
knows
the trial.
about people. You know about the things that the handiwork of gods.
Or the natural processes, of the earth,
Put it whatever way you want to put it.
You put it.
But it's there, it's the same thing.
The earth works, yeah.
What about the new exoplanet that they discovered out in the other solar system?
Where there's a chance of life.
Goldilocks zone,
where there could
rock
be
formations and all of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's
fascinating.
It is.
But the Clockmore Stone, is it there through glacial?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It
So
just didn't roll. It didn't.
It didn't fall. It happened to get
stuck there.
It didn't fall down the valley.
Yeah.
Into the loch. Yeah.
It'd be a big splash if it,
It
had
would
done.
be a fair
Absolutely.
big splash. Yeah.
So, what myths and mythology and archaeology is there around? Did people live in the high mountains up around the Clockmore or not?
Well, the myth was that was it Fionn McCool
through
it
across the loch from the Carlingford side, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm not so sure if there was much.
But then we dealt with the past issues like that, and we put all that behind us. We said he didn't really.
No, we didn't. We like to do a lot of this myth busting in our project.
But you do that in the project.
We do. We do. We're
What's the most exciting myth about this part of the world that you know of?
I have to be honest, I don't find them all that exciting at all, because for me the truth is
more exciting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is. Yeah.
So
what I did, I know what you're saying, because walking in the bush of a certain part of Africa that for security reasons I can't mention, now God help us the way things are, those children.
I know,
it's
awful.
awful.
Yes, awful.
But the same cooking pots. The shards of cooking pots that are on my table at home.
Yes.
These large shards, all designed and beautiful with a lip on them. Exactly the sort of thing you'd see in the museum.
Oh yes,
Old
over
stuff.
here.
The Africans today are doing it exactly the same way as it was done here.
Yes, it's incredible.
It's just amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yes, I can agree with you.
Yeah,
Reality is super.
It is,
yeah.
I've spent a good bit of time, or I've worked in Mexico. So of course they had pyramids. I've never seen the Egyptian pyramids, but I've been on the Mexican pyramid,
ones,
and think that all these societies that had no real connection,
they came up with
similar things at similar times. Yeah.
It's a huge interesting situation indeed. So the stone is there, and talk to me about your tours, this thing that's coming, because I want us to close off by reminding people about it, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and the excitement of it.
Well, we have a number of small events. So we do lots and lots of little small events. It's to get the people out and learning about their own area. Because I suppose it is geotourism, which related to the earth and then how people reacted with the earth. But it's a thing for people who are here now to feel proud of. It's a shared history. It's everybody's background. It's everybody's landscape and archaeology. And if we're all terribly proud of what's here, we'll be good ambassadors for getting people from the rest of the island or from Britain or from the rest of Europe to come and visit us.
Yeah.
So we do lots of little events just to get the locals, if you like, proud of their own exciting things. So we always have a few events on.
Yeah.
But what we've coming up is we'll do a lecture on the Clockmore Stone up at the Clockmore Stone.
Myth.
So to walk up.
Myth.
Well, we'll refer to the myth, but a little bit on what it really is, and to look at the landscape while we're up there.
Yeah.
We'll do the walking tour of Newry.
Yes.
To look at the urban geology and archaeology.
Yes.
And we always have little events like that on.
You're kind of like a Rosemary and Thyme of the archaeological and geological world. But I mean, don't. That's sort of. So allow me the poetic license when I qualify by saying sort of. So it's a grand thing to be doing, and you know it's funny. You know the stuff you deal in, your stuff has a purity about it and a kind of infernal wonderment about it. You're the cauldron of life.
Well,
and then comes along humanity and religion and gods.
Yes.
We all start killing each other.
Yes.
But that's interesting too, and to look at how people 5,000 years ago might have honoured the earth or a god or a something like at Slieve Gullion.
Yes.
It's all good.
It is all good. It is all
Good stuff.
good. But as Vanessa said, the reality is almost more exciting than the myth.
It is, of course. Well, it always is, isn't it? Yeah. It's
Mostly because people don't know the reality. It all seems a bit mad.
Yeah. You'll probably that's you'll investigate all of the ancientness, the famine graveyard up the road. There's a famine graveyard up on just beneath Daisy Hill Hospital.
That's right.
On the Camlow Road. It's there, so that's interesting too.
It is.
So you're both working in Newry. You're not from Newry. No, you're not. No, you're both from other places.
I'm from Dundalk.
Yeah. You're a great polar explorer in Dundalk. What was his name?
Oh, McClintock.
McClintock.
Yes.
He went to search for, what was the guy's name?
Franklin.
Franklin.
Yes.
I shouldn't start things that I don't know about. It's terrible, but I'm so grateful. Franklin.
Yeah.
And again, I know it because the joy of doing a nationwide at the museum about him.
Yes.
And he's a Count McClintock. He lived in Seatown in Dundalk.
Yeah, it's
that
incredible.
Fascinates me. It's great altogether.
Yeah. And probably most Dundalk people don't know this, which is a shame.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
it is a shame. There's a memorial to him in one of the cathedrals in Dublin. I can't remember. Christchurch, a great big one.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Where's your office in Newry? Remind me.
On Margaret Street.
Margaret Street, up close to where the reporter. Is it up one floor up?
We're just on the top floor, above the Boulevard restaurant. That's where we are.
Okay.
Yes.
We talked about this before. Because it's just so fascinating that people like ye are doing this kind of thing in our town, which is a great thrill.
Yeah, but the raw materials are here.
Oh, I know.
We're in the middle of three different mountainous regions.
But we're here for a long time. Nobody came. Nobody liked us. Now we're going.
A very unusual collection, or a very high concentration of Neolithic monuments.
In the Ring of Gullion, and unusually.
There's the ring. There's the Ring of Gullion and the gate. What do they call it? The gateway to the north.
Yes.
The gap of the north. And what kind of artifacts are there out in South Armagh?
Well, there are three different types. We have passage tombs, like on top of Slieve Gullion. Dolmens, or portal tombs, like at Ballykeel.
Okay.
Several court tombs, like at Clontigora.
Yeah. It's all necrology in a sense. It's all the burial rites.
They're all burial sites. Yes. Yeah. Ceremonial sites, we think, as well.
Ceremonial sites as well. What would they have been ceremonial about?
For example, the site at Slieve Gullion, the way it's aligned with the setting sun, it may have been some sort of sun worship.
Wow.
And we don't know what gods these people worshipped or what sort of faith
Well,
they had.
for goodness sake, it gives us a clue. The county of Louth worshipping the sun, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Which is amazing. But why do you think they're so prolific there?
I'm not sure. It must have been some sort of a ceremonial landscape or an area of religious significance. I think so, yes.
Squint and allow your imagination to get into gear.
Yes.
And you see the entirety of that ring, that valley.
Yes.
Full of people.
Yeah.
Gathered and roaring and shouting. And
Yes.
the sun glistening on their spearheads. Stuff like that. God, yes. I never thought of it in this way.
So the raw materials are here
Yeah.
for what we do.
You love this, don't you?
Yes, it's an easy enough place to love.
But it is actually,
yes.
it's nice. It is nice.
Yeah.
We're going to play you some music. Andrew's going to play us some music now. Thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome.
It's really good. I've been talking to Siobhan Power and Vanessa Ryan, geologist and archaeologist. Thank you so much, very much indeed.
Thank you.
Keep us informed, won't you?
We will indeed.
What's going on?
We will.
We're your friends here.
You are.
It's going to be good. Let it continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take care.
Yeah.